So it feels a bit different today, James.
Yeah, it's the same podcast. It's still not
Yeah.
another medical podcast, but the
Yeah.
air is just different today.
It's
And we're missing someone
quieter.
too.
There's
Yeah.
there's someone not here, and it feels a bit
Yeah.
different, but
And I also
it's
think,
still us.
it's still us. That's right. We're doing something different today, Brody. And I think you and I are kicking this off. And Josh is not out of the picture yet.
Yeah.
he's on,
Yes.
he's on, he's actually taking some well-deserved time to
Yeah.
vacation. But,
Yeah.
you
But the
know, we
podcast
wanted
must
to, yeah.
must go on.
Podcast must go on.
Podcast must go on.
Yeah, we're very excited to
Yeah.
introduce something new to the listeners. We're going to still do our regular programming, but we thought this would be really interesting to do. And in this series of episodes, we are going to review some health products like, wellness products, health technology products, artificial intelligence enabled products. There are a lot of these. And, I'm sure if you're like me, you get all these ads targeting me to use some of these and buy some of these.
It's helpful. It's not just me. It's everywhere.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
all
like
day, every
everywhere.
day.
It's ubiquitous.
Yeah. So welcome to not another medical podcast. It's still NAMP, but NAMP hype check.
That's right.
Or
Yes.
to be future named.
Health
Shorts.
product, hype or not. We'll
Hype
come
or
up with
not.
a better name, I promise.
Anyways. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guests, do not reflect the official policies or positions of any affiliated institutions or organizations. This podcast is for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only, and it is not intended to provide medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Listeners should consult their own healthcare professionals for any medical concerns. I'm Brody Nolan. I'm an emergency doctor.
I'm Josh Levitz, internal medicine.
And I'm James Jung, a general surgeon. This is not another medical podcast.
Yeah, welcome, and let's do it. Can you just talk a bit about like the scope? Like, what are you seeing? Like, it feels like it's everywhere, but like, who's into this? Who's not into this? Like, what does it look like?
Yeah, so overall, what we've seen, and when we speak to a lot of our listeners and patients, health curiosity is exploding everywhere and across all age strata. And it's just not patients who are at more of an older age, but in fact, actually, the Gen Z has a lot of interest in wellness and really obsessed with biohacking and how to be healthier, how to live healthier lives. Some of the statistics show that 79% of the Gen Z say that wellness is extremely important to them, which is higher than any other generations. I think the older generations like us, we really didn't really take care of our body when we were young, and we're suffering consequently now. But really,
I'll again allude
Gen
to my
Zers,
shift worker
That's right.
mantra.
The Gen Zers are spending 20% of their income on wellness, which is more than millennials,
20%.
Gen X. Yeah, 70% of them have at least one health metrics like sleep, steps, stress, and cycles. And 56% of them have purchased at least one wellness product. Because of that, I think it's really important for us to dive into this and give them the best information possible.
Totally, yeah. I feel like Fitbit was like the and you're counting your daily steps was like the gateway drug to wellness and wellness products. Like, it's really exploded and took off. But I think, when we talk about the wellness market, we're talking about pills, powders, packaged supplements. We're also talking about wearables like rings and watches, red lights and infrared stuff, cold plunges, microbiome kits, AI powered health. Like, there's so much out
It's
there.
mind-boggling.
And the hard thing is, again, a lot of it has very scientific sounding language, right? A lot of like clinically proven, supports immunity, promotes detox, and it's kind of vague. Like, there's not like kind of clear definitions. Some of it may actually have some evidence for it, some of it doesn't. And it's really hard when you try to blend science with shiny branding, with ambiguous wording, and especially in the world of endorsements and influencers, you just get bombarded by these things. So it's estimated that the global wellness market is now at over $5.6 trillion and expected to reach over
It's enormous.
8.5 trillion by 2027. So again, these are just insane amounts of money. $500 billion a year in the US alone, and it's growing 5 to 8% a year.
And that's why we're stepping in. Our goal is to really cut through the hype and really, as we do in our regular programming, explain health benefits and risks in plain language and evaluate what the evidence really shows. You're spending your hard-earned dollars into these very expensive, sometimes very expensive products, and you want to make sure that your money is well spent. And we believe that we're really qualified to do this because not only are we practicing physicians with more than 13 years of clinical experience, we're also professionally trained. We have PhD degrees and master's degrees in clinical epidemiology. This is actually our other half of our jobs where
our other bread and butter.
Academic. That's right. We're academic professors in top medical universities in North America. So this is, what you could expect from these series. In each episode, we're going to focus on one health product. We'll keep it short, but we'll break down on what the product claims to do, why it exists, and what's the mechanism behind it, what are the clinical evidence, and what are the safety and efficacy. And we want to talk about cost and what kind of value it has. And ultimately, we're going to do a little bit of scoring because I think it really sticks with the listener's mind, when we provide a score.
Who doesn't love a good score?
We'll tell you. That's right. There's always going to be a little bit of score.
So, James, I appreciate this. The first one we're kicking off with, it's big, it's everywhere. It's the perfect product to kind of pilot a new episode with. AG1, right? So for a bit of background for those listeners that may or may not be familiar with it, AG1 started back around 2010, originally called Athletic Greens. And the founder, his kind of origin story for the company said he struggled with gut issues, nutrient deficiencies, and just was kind of overwhelmed with kind of the daily supplement routine, taking dozens of pills every day. And the goal was try to create a single, simple product that combined all the vitamins, minerals, probiotics, enzymes, plant extracts, everything that he wanted was taking, and it was a single scoop. And that idea eventually became AG1. And so fast forward to today, AG1 has turned into one of the fastest growing supplement brands in the world. It rebranded in 2022 with sleek green packaging that it's kind of everywhere now, and it is scaled. They're now valued in the hundreds of millions of dollars. The annual revenue is estimated over $200 to $300 million. It's one of the most heavily marketed wellness products on the planet. And the other piece of this too is, the real breakthrough came from a lot of its marketing and specifically its podcast strategy. So if you've literally, for years, if you've listened to, any of the major podcasts like the Huberman Lab, Tim Ferriss, Joe Rogan, a bunch of other fitness and productivity and wellness shows, you've often heard the phrase, I start every morning with one scoop of AG1, right? And it's that kind of embedded message again and again and again exposed to you that we decided to start with that. So James, can you kick us off a little bit? How does it claim to work? What's the mechanism?
I think that was really good introduction of what AG1 is. And really, the AG1 really sells itself as an all-in-one foundational nutritional system. Rationale for the consumers to want AG1 is because the average North American diet is most likely missing a lot of important macro and micronutrients, and especially micronutrients because, North American diet tends not to be that great. So this one scoop a day will fill all the gaps that are resulted by consuming not so well balanced North American diet. So they really have these kind of three major pillars for the mechanism. One is this filling the nutritional gaps. So nutrient gaps include things like vitamins A, C, vitamin E, zinc. For individuals who have low or deficiency in these micronutrients, taking this one scoop a day of AG1 could elevate the levels of these micronutrients. AG1 provides concentrated doses of these nutrients.
Right.
The second pillar, in addition to those micronutrients, is supporting gut health through symbiotic formula, is what they call it. And it involves symbiotic mix of probiotics, so these are live bacteria, and prebiotics, which are fibers that these bacteria will feed off of. But what AG1 claims is that they have mixture, and these are proprietary mixtures, so we don't know exactly what's in there, but they're specific probiotics that they have incorporated into the formula that includes some of the favorable microbiota like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium that could improve the sort of the diversity of the gut microbiome. And again, microbiome, such a buzzword these days, right? And then and then these fibers in prebiotics could help these bacteria incorporate into the gut and flourish. And together,
I wonder if
they
it's that,
claim,
is it because bacteria just need to poop like the rest of us? Fiber's important for us. It's important for bacteria too.
Yeah,
I
they
was
get
wondering
really
about that.
bloaty afterwards.
We get gas, the bacteria get gas. It's all bad around. Everyone needs
Exactly.
fiber.
Yeah, exactly. Fiber is good for everybody. So, together they claim that this leads to better digestion or resolution of bloating, immunity, nutrient absorptions from the better microbiome. The third pillar is that there's a nutrient synergy and with the functional ingredients. So when you go to their website, they have about 75 different ingredients that they have nice pictures of. And these could include things like mushrooms, green tea extracts, antioxidants from various fruits and vegetables, and something called adaptogens, and some digestive enzymes. And these are mixed in. Yeah, go ahead.
I've heard the term adaptogens before. Like, do you know what does that mean?
Adaptogens are these plant-derived compounds, usually from herbs or mushrooms, that supposedly help body adapt to stress. So when there are some physiologic stress to your body, that these are the ones that could help body adapt to them. And these are really
reduce
from
inflammation,
kind of herbal medicine.
reduce stress.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, like improve resilience. Really, the ideas really come from the herbal medicine traditions. And,
I think I remember the term that they're trying to help the body adapt to things, hence adapt to stress, hence the adaptogens. Yeah.
So these are kind of the big picture, what they claim that, how AG1 works to help with overall health.
Right. So, I mean, just like face value, that's a lot. It's a lot of pillars and a lot of stuff riding on a single scoop, right? Like
in a single scoop, just green mixture. Yeah.
So, okay. All right. So it aims to do a lot of stuff and a lot of hypothetical ways all over, and kind of touching on some key
theoretically
things we see out there.
they put in theoretically they put in all the ingredients that you would think
probiotics
would be good, and one would wonder, does it really help, right?
Right. So great transition, James. That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
I know you did some looking at it. What evidence is out there? Like, there may be key things that we're looking for, right? Often there's like a bunch of papers out there, but like, what's kind of big picture? What's the proof? What's the evidence? How does it hold up?
Yeah. So AG1, I think kudos to them, is one of the few supplement companies that have done some scientific studies, particularly randomized controlled trials in human subjects.
That is
randomized
huge.
Controlled trials. Yeah, randomized controlled trials. If you haven't heard about this term, it's a type of study where we believe it to be the highest level of evidence. So, if you have two-arm trials, I think a lot of these trials were two-arm trials. So you have a group of patients who are randomized to treatment or control. And the patients do not know whether they're in control or therapeutic arm. And they get same powder. One has active ingredients in AG1. The other looks the same, smells the same, but does not have the active ingredients of AG1. And then we follow in systematic way some of the outcomes that we want to follow. And I'll talk about what the outcomes are, and then over a certain type of time horizon. And this is commonly known as the best level of evidence. So I think kudos to AG1. They've been able to publish these studies. But there's always a caveat, and I'll talk about those as well. So first trial is a 4-week trial. Really, this is about safety. So there are different objectives of RCTs. This one contained 30 healthy adults age 21 to 49. They have normal body mass index, no GI or metabolic diseases. It's a randomized controlled trial, double-blinded, and they measured the gut microbiome from the stool samples. So what they really wanted to see is whether the gut microbiome changed after taking 4 weeks of daily AG1 before and after. And the secondary outcomes also included, they did some quality of life scores. So these are questionnaires that you would fill out at the beginning and the end of the trial, is saying, how's your digestive symptoms? There are specific questions around your bowel movements and bloating and digestive symptoms and so forth. And then they also looked at some stool consistencies and frequencies and stuff like that. What they found is that the 15 adults who were assigned to AG1 had increase in this lactobacillus and bifidobacterium species, some of the favorable bacteria that are in the microbiome. So there's some selective increase of these bacteria in the microbiome, which is the same bacteria that are found in the AG1,
Right. So not
probiotics
surprising.
found in the AG1s. Not
Okay.
surprising, but it shows that there's a take or absorption of these
Within the
that are in the
microbiome.
microbiome.
Right. Okay.
But when they looked at the microbiome overall, it did not change the alpha diversity of the microbiome. So alpha diversity is how many different types of different species are in the microbiome. So, there's a lot of active research on the microbiome, but one thing that we care about the most is there really heterogeneous, multiple different species of bacteria living in that microbiome, right?
Right.
AG1 compared to placebo, there was no real difference in the alpha diversity. And there wasn't really a meaningful difference in beta diversity. So beta diversity is just community structure of the microbiome. They didn't see any of the differences there. So in plain words, when the subjects took AG1 every day for 4 weeks, did they see some small targeted bump in some of the probiotic strains that are contained in the AG1, but it did not change the overall microbiome structure or diversity.
Right, which I think kind of holds with, I think, a lot of the probiotic pills and yogurts that we're seeing as well, is you get a bit of an uptake in the ones that are specifically in that, but it may not actually affect the whole ecosystem of the microbiome as we might hope or may need in some ways to kind of show more of a larger clinical impact. Okay, so some change in the microbiome. We're at least seeing that the bacteria seem to be taken in the gut and staying in there. Okay, all right. And then what about safety?
Yeah. So even before that, the secondary outcomes were symptoms as well. And when they saw the questionnaires, they did not see any difference in the symptoms between the treatment and the control groups. So really, it didn't translate. That change in a couple of bacteria didn't really translate into improvement in symptoms or digestive symptoms.
Fair. Which also, it's only 4 weeks. I mean, I don't know if that's long enough as well, right? Thinking about if it takes some time to see that effect,
Very
I don't
good
know
point.
how long we would expect to need to be on something to see something. If we did expect it to actually have a change,
Yeah. I think, the safety findings, as you were alluded to, are probably the most important in this small trial like this. If we were to classify this RCT, this would be really a phase 1B or early phase 2 kind of type of RCT, which is really a proof of concept assessment of safety for the products. So in here, they demonstrated that the safety markers like liver enzymes, kidney functions, and blood counts remain stable between the two groups, treatment and control. So there were no findings of adverse reactions when taking AG1. All right. And then there was a second trial that was published a little bit later on. It was a longer study of 12 weeks. And this is really where they honed in on the nutrient gaps. So we talked about the deficiencies in the micronutrients. And this involved a larger number of sample size. So 105 healthy adults, all age 20 to 59. And they were eating standard, quote unquote, standard American diet, whatever that means.
Right. They can eat whatever they want.
Right. And, and because of that, they are presumed to have some common micronutrient gaps. And these could include things like vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin D, zinc, and things like that. Again, blinded randomized controlled trial, 2 arms, the active AG1 and placebo that looks the same, and 12 weeks of it. And then the outcomes is the blood levels of the multiple vitamins and minerals on the blood test before and after.
Right.
And they really quantify this as how many nutrient gaps per person did taking the treatment versus control improve or close the
interesting.
gap
Okay.
on. Yeah, so that's
Right.
a very interesting
Okay.
study.
So they kind of assumed that there were these nutrient gaps, and you would be able to close those by taking them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the effectiveness finding on this is that it demonstrated that the patients who were on AG1 closed around 3 to 4 nutrient gaps per person, while the placebo, there was no change in them. And they also commented a little bit on the microbiome, which said that it also produced favorable shift in microbiome metrics, but really, the data isn't really supportive of that from the RCT.
Gotcha. So kind
From
of a
the
vague
symptoms
statement,
perspective-
not really backed
Right.
up by a ton of evidence.
Right.
But they sneak it in there so they can cite it after.
They sneak it in there, yeah. But also, importantly, they did some safety findings and that did not demonstrate there any major safety signals reported from the RCT on both of the RCTs. So I think overall, these RCTs demonstrated that, first of all, taking AG1 seems to be safe in
Fair.
the small
Okay.
number of healthy patients who do not have GI symptoms and GI conditions. They did show that there is an ability to improve specific sets of probiotics and also be able to close the gap on nutrients, but mostly on the vitamins. So those are kind of the findings from these clinical trials. I think the caveat here is that these are industry-funded trials.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they've done something
It's
to
bad
the results
science or it's,
to make it. Yeah, I'm not saying that, but certainly we have to take that into consideration. Conflict of interest, potential conflict of interest, right? And these are really small number. 30 in the first trial at 105 is a little better, but still very small, especially if your outcomes are kind of closing the nutrient gaps. The sample size calculation really wasn't that robust. And then lastly, it's really short-term studies, right? 4 weeks. And I think the next one was 12 weeks. These are really short terms. And really the outcomes of symptom improvement, it's hard to expect the symptoms will improve in that short period of time. So,
totally.
I think that's why they kept it as secondary outcomes, but really, I think the duration and the sample size were too small to really answer the critical questions they really want to know.
And I always wonder too, if you're closing those nutrient gaps, does it get to a point that then you actually overshoot on the other end, right? Because a lot of these nutrients or a lot of these supplements also are not your 100% daily recommended dose, but your 1,000% recommended dose.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing too, is you have to watch them for a while to see if that needle moves too much on the other side to overshoot. And again, we just don't know that with these studies. Or if someone, isn't totally healthy and they have some underlying condition, but they're still taking this because they think that's going to be beneficial, right? So.
Yeah, those are the huge caveats, right? So because the amount and the composition of these micronutrients are not transparently described in AG1, it's proprietary blend, right? So what if you are a female patient of reproductive age taking prenatal vitamins, multivitamins, and you want to take AG1? Does that really overshoot some specific micronutrients? That's quite possible too, right? And we don't know whether AG1 contains, enough adequate amount of folic acid and things that are really important in prenatal settings. So these are really important considerations if you're thinking about taking AG1.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. So I think, we have the evidence. It's always good then to balance that with what's the actual cost, or are there any other comparatives to kind of other alternatives, right? So kind of taking that with a grain of salt. So what have you found for how much it costs? Are there any alternatives out there?
So when you go to the AG1 website, this is in the US, AG1 monthly supply is about $79. I actually have taken AG1 for about 2 months, and I think they were on promotion somewhere. I think it was a little cheaper than $79, but it ranges from like $80 to $90 a month. And then they make on the website, they do a comparison to other things, alternative methods of getting these micronutrients. And they say, oh, like if you put all of those together additively, it's about $225 per month. But in it, they add things like immune support as a category, which I don't know what that really means. Like, I don't know if you could buy immune support as a supplement.
Is that like a Best Buy add-on for like IT support? Like you get like a new,
I think
a new iPhone.
I think it's like an Apple Care. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they also put in,
who do I call?
Yeah, they also put in cognitive support for $30 a month, which I don't understand.
But I will say I'm interested if I can get cognitive support for $30 a month.
Me too. Yeah.
Who, where, when? Sign me up.
Yeah. And then they also add things like stress adaptogen, which we talked about, at $30 a month. They do have some adaptogens in it, but the evidence isn't really clear on how beneficial these are to your overall health. But I think the top three things that AG1 does contain, which are multivitamins and minerals, probiotics, and green superfood, right? The greens mix, right? On the AG1 website, they put about $45 for multivitamins, probiotics at $30, greens at $50. So that is about $125 versus $79. But really, in the marketplace, I'm not sure if those are that expensive. Like, quality multivitamins is about $20 a bottle, which could be more than a month, right? Probiotics could range anywhere from, I don't know, like 20 to $40 per month. Greens powder could be $30 to $6 per month. So I think if you put those together, it's equivalent to AG1. Maybe AG1 could come up a little bit higher. But certainly there's a convenience setting, right?
That was
AG1, you only take one.
Their whole thing.
Yeah, right. On the other side, the flip side, if you take multivitamins, probiotics, and greens separately, and you look at the labels and you know exactly what you're taking in the ingredient chart, whereas AG1, because it's proprietary blend, you're not quite sure how much of each you're getting. So I think that's the kind of the cost comparison.
Yeah. Okay. So might be cheaper if you make a choose your own adventure for doing it, but you don't really know what you're getting for actually comparing to AG1. So
yeah.
So okay. And I guess the other thing is, could you also divert that money for just fruits and vegetables, or increasing your diet itself? If a lot of these are really macronutrient deficiencies, like, could you actually use that money to improve your general
I think a lot
diet?
of the right. I think a lot of registered dietitians and nutritional scientists argue that taking nutrients from quality vegetables and fruits is the way to go. But I think this is where they're getting at. We know that that's the best way to go, but it's not convenient, and I know you don't do it.
It's true. It's true.
Right? Like, so I think that's they have a very strong market.
It's
for
fair.
Individuals who want to do high quality eating, but really cannot.
So, James, I love this concept of giving a bit of a score to wrap everything together, package everything, to kind of synthesize all the stuff that you had there. And so I think we were putting together this series. We talked about maybe scoring each of the products on three things. One being evidence. So how strong is the science behind these claims? Two, what's the value? So again, is the product worth its cost relative to what you could get? And the third thing is really transparency. And I think safety is a lot of things that we're also really worried about. So, how, is the marketing clear? Is it honest? Is there evidence that the product at least is safe? And, scoring those each on a score of 0 to 10, that's one would, 0 being, not good at all, 10 being like, this is awesome and excellent. So what's your take? How would you rate AG1?
Yeah, so let's start with the evidence score. So I think, first of all, for a nutritional supplement company, having 2 randomized controlled trials on human subjects, I think far exceeds what we see from,
Totally
usual
agree.
Supplement company, for sure. So, I think there are questions about the quality and company funded and small sample size and shorter duration, but certainly it raises the evidence on
Yeah.
changes in microbiome, and closing the micronutrient gap. So I would give a 5 out of 10, uh,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
there's RCTs, but these are not effective RCTs. These are effectiveness RCT, but really they're safety RCTs or proof of concept
Right.
RCTs. And
Yeah.
I really hope that the company will continue to
Hmm.
have these randomized controlled trials to demonstrate efficacy and effectiveness in improving symptoms. And once they show that, this score could go
Yeah.
up to 9 or 10 if there's actually valid evidence.
Totally. And I agree. I think that's really the direction that we'd hope everything to be in, right? Is really to be evidence based, and
Hmm.
RCT really is the standard you need. So great. Okay.
Hmm. And in terms of value, so I certainly think that the cost is a little high for what you're really getting, especially if you boil it down to, what are the ingredients that have been robustly shown to be associated with improved health. And, for those, it's really vitamin D that we know if there's deficiency in vitamin D, bone health associations. And in prenatal setting, certain types of vitamins and minerals are very important. But I feel like there's a lot of overabundance of the nutrients that you're getting that may or may not be related to improved health yet at
Right.
this point. Again, that, ties to the evidence, right? So
Yeah.
I think you're getting a lot of active ingredients and you're paying premium dollars for it. But does it really translate to better health? That hasn't been really shown. So I think the value at this point, without good evidence, is on the relatively low side. I think the biggest value comes from the convenience. It's
Sure. Yeah.
I had this daily serving stick that you could just tear off and then just mix. Very easy to do. You don't have to even
Right.
scoop that, right? So,
Yeah.
so it was really convenient, and at least it gave you that sense of, idea that you're doing something for your bodies, you're doing something
Yeah.
for
That's
your
true too.
health, and
Yep.
you're being compliant, with taking this. So there's
Yeah.
some value to it. I
Yep.
would give a 3 for value. I think you could
Mhm.
get better value by buying premium multivitamins, premium micronutrients, especially if you know which micronutrients you're deficient in, and taking supplements that you know that you need.
Okay. And then, so
Okay, and
lastly,
then
then,
mhm.
how would you rate transparency and safety?
Yeah, so in terms of safety, I think the RCTs have demonstrated with high level of confidence that it's safe to consume this. So I think it gets high points for safety. Now, I did look at some FDA complaints about this product, and there are
Hmm.
about 50 to 100 complaints about abnormality in liver enzymes after taking these AG1 products.
Interesting.
But
Hmm.
again, it hasn't been demonstrated in randomized controlled trial setting,
Yeah.
so you can't really prove causality in these claims. But it's important to be aware of this. And again, this may be related to what we're talking about,
Mm.
because because this is a proprietary blend, we don't really know exact amount of the micronutrients that are in there. So
Yeah.
if you have been taking different supplements on top of AG1 for a variety of reasons, right, that may overshoot some of the
Yeah.
consumptions. And it's particularly important for fat soluble vitamins. These could become toxic in the liver, right? So these are vitamin A, D, E, and K, right? So these are really important
Right.
to consider. So I think put that together. I think it's kind of like safety is high and then transparency is low. I think put it together, I would put it at 6. So altogether, so 5 out of 10 evidence,
Mm.
3 out of 10 value, 6 out of 10 transparency is total of 14 out of 30. I would
Okay.
consider 0 to 10 to be just hype, and
Right.
then 10 to 20 to be
Yeah.
mixed, and
Yeah.
then 20 to 30 to be valuable.
Yeah.
You get bang for your buck kind of thing. So I think this is a little bit of mixed at this point,
Hmm.
but I'm hopeful that they will continue to build on the foundations of scientific evidence that they're building.
Yeah.
It seems like they're doing some more RCTs, and I really look forward to reading and following up on the RCT results. And I think they will improve actually maybe all 3 of these scores because it's
Mm.
really tied to how beneficial they are, what the efficacy it is.
Yeah, and the quality of that evidence. So
Yeah,
awesome.
quality of evidence as well. Yeah.
Great. This is
All
awesome,
right,
James.
so
Thanks for taking us through it.
yeah.
We'll yeah.
Yeah, this is our AG1 episode, and see you for more episodes of this series.
More shorts, more hype. Or not.
Is it hype or not?
Hype or not. All right. Take care, man. We'll see you.
All right, see ya.